Hey guys, Sak here from SAKITECH, and in today's video I want to talk about the fact that I've switched back from the iPhone 11 Pro Max to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. And of course in this video I want to tell you guys why I have decided to switch back to the S20 Ultra despite the fact that the iPhone 11 Pro Max is in fact a very good phone. So real quick, let me give you a quick backstory. So the reason I switched to the iPhone 11 Pro Max for a full week was because iOS 14 got released. We have now widgets on the iOS 14, so we have some level of customization. So that kind of seduced me a little bit. So I thought, let me try it. If I like it, I will stick with it. But like I said, after using it for a whole week, I'm right back at the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. So let's dive in and get some of the details as to why. And I will also let you know in some aspects where the iPhone 11 Pro Max I think is slightly better than the S20 Ultra. So let's dive in. Now, one of the biggest reasons I've made the switch is because of the screen. The larger screen on the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is much more attractive for somebody like me who does prefer larger screens, especially when it comes to watching videos, consuming media, and stuff like that. Both phones have amazing speakers, so that's not an issue. They both have Dolby sound, but the screen on the S20 Ultra simply is larger. It seems crisper to me, and of course it does not have a notch. The notch, I know a lot of people are used to it by now, but I still can't fully digest it in 2020. I much prefer the single hole cutout in the center, which is much less intrusive on the display as you're enjoying media, as you're consuming media. So certainly the display as a whole made me switch back 20 Ultra, and of course the display has 120 Hz refresh rate. But I will let you know one thing. The iPhone 11 Pro Max has a 60 Hz display, yet the software is so super optimized, it still feels buttery smooth. So even with 60 Hz, it doesn't feel choppy. It actually feels fluid and smooth. Just want to clarify that. That's not a reason I switched over, but the S20 Ultra does have the 120 Hz. You can feel the difference, but it's nothing dramatic. Now, another thing that I was really into on the S20 Ultra was the fingerprint sensor that's built into the display. Now, there is no problem with the Face ID. The thing works like magic. It works quickly. It works every single time, but I just happen to prefer, again, personal preference, I prefer having a fingerprint sensor, so even if the phone is laying flat on the table, I can quickly log in, do a quick calculation on a calculator or whatever, or maybe respond to a message and then go back about. With the iPhone, every single time I have to actually lift it up. With the S20 Ultra, I don't have to lift it up. I can just use a fingerprint sensor, which also works like magic, and it's super fast. And a quick word on the build quality. Both phones feel like $1 million. The build quality and the premium feel is not a problem. They're exactly the same. If I hold one or the other, it is clear that they are both very expensive smartphones. Probably more expensive than they should be. Now, one thing I prefer on the iPhone is the matte finish on the back that attracts less fingerprints as opposed to the Note 20 Ultra that is super shiny and does attract fingerprints all the time. Yes, we do put cases on our phones all the time, but sometimes you take it out, you take a look at it, and it's really hard to look at a phone that is just smudged with fingerprints all over. I much prefer to have the option of the matte black, but that alone is not enough to switch from one phone to the other entirely. But points in that respect do go to the iPhone. Now, when it comes to software, I prefer the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. I prefer the Samsung One UI overlay with Android over iOS 14, even though iOS 14 has come a long way. Let me dive in and show you some of the things I prefer so you can see firsthand what I'm talking about. It's things like keyboard, things like customization. Let me actually show it to you. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the keyboard. So let me go into my keyboard real quick. Let me go to my text message right over here. So I'm going to bring it up right now. Now, as you can see, that's the keyboard here. And with the iPhone, let's bring up a message, okay? That's the keyboard. Now, there's one problem with the iPhone that I simply do not like. I don't know how to fix it unless you install some third-party keyboard. But you have over here, I have the numpad that is accessible. On top of that, I also have this one option here that allows me to change the size of the keyboard as I please by going here and just moving it up and down. So if I want a bigger keyboard for easy one-hand use, I can make it larger and all that good stuff, okay? So the keyboard is fully customizable and also has the numeric keypads on the top for easy access, something I use and a lot of people use all the time. That's one. One more thing I can do is I can program things into my phone that allow me to lock the phone just by swiping from the side. On top of that, when I double tap, I can have gorgeous wallpapers on my lock screen that are live, that are dynamic, and that are video wallpapers, okay? And let me just show you a couple examples here so you get the idea. So if I go to my wallpapers, I go to downloads, okay? So I can have things like this. That's an actual wallpaper I can have on my Galaxy smartphone that I cannot do here. With this one, if I go to wallpapers, there's a bunch of options, some dynamic options here. Let me cancel that, choose new wallpaper, go to dynamic, but that's all it is. I don't even know what this is, to be honest. It's very boring as opposed to these things. I can have things like this, as you can see. That's a beautiful wallpaper right there. So customization when it comes to actual wallpapers is simply mind-blowing. It's something I personally care to have on my lock screen. When I unlock the phone, I like to see something like that. So let me just show it to you real quick. There we go. You get to see something beautiful on your lock screen. Okay, so that's just one of the other examples. One more thing, if I go into my settings, for example, okay, if I go to display and if I go into the edge screen, for example, I got the edge lighting option. If somebody sends me a text message, I can have effects like this around the phone just play out, and they're all completely customizable, as you can see. Okay, I got these options, I got that option, I got the spotlight option. So just showing you guys that it's more customizable, something I personally enjoy. Now with the iPhone, with the iOS 14, part of the reason I switched over, we have the widgets, but that's all we have right now. iOS 14 is basically iOS 13 plus widgets and some under the hood improvements. But this is the biggest thing and it's nothing major. I can customize my widgets with much more detail here as opposed to here, okay? So right now they're also very limited, so we only have a few, but here I got hundreds of widgets and I can download thousands more. So definitely customization plays a big role in me sticking with the Galaxy device. One more thing I like is the option to have the buttons at the bottom here. Okay, so I like these buttons because for me that's more preferable. And the good news is now with this one you don't get the buttons, you get all the gestures. But with this one, if you want, you can turn them off and you can turn it into an iPhone-like gesture-based phone. So you go to navigation bar and you simply go to full screen gestures. The buttons disappear and I get options just like the iPhone, okay? So another reason, but I do prefer the buttons, or reason I like to stick with this. Maybe not a huge deal, but as a total package, things start to add up. Quick word on the camera. The absolute camera as a total package, after some really heavy usage, I've concluded that the iPhone is actually better, especially when it comes to video recording. Now with the photos, the sensor on the Note 20 actually is a more expensive sensor, and it does take sharper photos because it's got the 108 megapixel camera sensor. But when you switch over to the video, there's one thing that bothers me. I'll let you know what it is. When you go in to the iPhone and you go to 4K recording at 60 or 30 frames per second, you can switch between all three cameras seamlessly, whether you're doing 4K or 1080p at 60 frames per second. With the Note 20 Ultra, unfortunately, the only time you can switch between the three cameras, the wide, super wide, and the telephoto during recording, is when you're recording at 1080p at 30 frames per second or 4K at 30 frames per second. When you switch over to 60 frames per second, which is what I prefer to do, you cannot switch between the cameras. You cannot go to wide, to super wide, to telephoto as you're recording. That's a problem I found. Maybe they'll be fixing that with the next iterations or some software updates. But I think the iPhone's video recording capability, when it comes to versatility, is actually better than the Note 20 Ultra. But when it comes to photos, they're both excellent products. The S20 Ultra has slight focusing problems that were kind of pronounced in the beginning, but with regular software updates, it's been fixed a lot. But mostly I'm concerned about the video versatility. And one more thing with the iPhone, it does have the ecosystem benefit. I use the iPad all the time. iPad is my primary tablet. And then sometimes I do use MacBooks, but mostly I use Windows. That's in the back. That's my work PC. That's where I game. That's where I edit videos. And I do all kinds of heavy duty work. But I do have a MacBook for light duty tasks. But it is clear that when you have an iPhone, it does fit in very well with the ecosystem. Everything you do on your iPhone is available on the MacBook Pro, on the iPad, but that still was not enough to make me switch to the iPhone because I'm really used to the software versatility and other things I've mentioned about the S20 Ultra. I just stick to the S20 Ultra. When I go to the iPhone, something just doesn't feel right. Again, personal opinion, that's my personal choice. Could be different for you guys. If you own Apple products all over the place, you could give a try to the iPhone, and I think you'll like the ecosystem experience. But it wasn't enough to detach me from the Samsung as my primary phone. Primary phone, Samsung. Primary laptop, MacBook. Primary tablet, Apple. Primary computer system, Windows. Okay, so that was a quick video on my reasons of switching back from the iPhone 11 Pro Max that I really wanted to try out and see how it's gonna attract me, but it just didn't work. And I try this every year when I feel like I'm a little bit bored of a phone. For example, I've been using Samsung phones as my daily driver for a long time. That's what I use most of the time. So sometimes it's natural to get bored and you want to try something else. The next best thing is the iPhone, so I went to that one, but the relationship did not last too long. All right, so let me know what you guys think. Are you an iPhone 11 user? Are you a Samsung user? Which one you prefer? Would you like to switch? Things like that. Drop them down below and let me know. For now, guys, have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next video. All right, so if you found this video useful, make sure to subscribe to SAKITECH by clicking that button, and also click that bell icon on the side to make sure you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you do use Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, you can follow me at SAKITECH Online to get the latest updates as well. All right, have a fantastic day.